Hey guys, how are you? I haven't made one of these videos in a while talking to you, so I figured let's do one of these because I have things to share. So today we're going to be talking about something that I haven't really spoken to a lot of people about, and it's how I escaped death twice. This all happened within like a 3-4 month time span. Yeah, 3 to 4 month time span, but there were two isolated incidents that could have gone horribly wrong. They didn't, but they could have. So I'll start with the first one. I was on my way to a friend's house, and this was at the end of 2020. I can't remember when. It was probably between November, December, October, November, December, sometime in the fall last year. I was on my way to a friend's house and it was dark outside. It wasn't nighttime yet, but it was, when daylight savings times, daylight savings time, it gets really dark really early in the fall. And so I remember going to a friend's house at like 5-ish in the evening, and I was taking an exit. And my friend's house is not super far from me. It's probably like a 40-minute drive. I live in DC, she lives in Maryland. And so I was on my way there and I was taking an exit. And if you are not a person who drives in the United States or in the DMV, usually it's like one stretch of highway road, and then there are like these little turn-offs that you call exits, and then they bring you on like another stretch of like highway, or they bring you in another like community, whatever. Not all places are built like this with this infrastructure. So for the people who don't know what exits are, that's what they are. I'm turning off on this exit, and it's a circle, and so I'm turning, and I'm not driving super fast. I'm probably like driving at like 40, and I just hear a loud bursting sound. I start to feel the car wobbling. And so before I could start to do anything defensively or catch my bearings or anything, before I even recognized what the hell was going on, the car just started swerving, like just swerving in the exit. I think it was a 1-lane exit, and so there were bushes beside me. Luckily, I had already turned out. I was almost ready to like go back out on the main road. And so what I realized really quickly was, okay, I can go on the main road, but I hope to God that no one is passing by on the main to hit me, because I realized that I also could not stop the car. So car's turning around, I'm headed onto the main road. Thank God that as soon as I come out on the main road, there's a car that sped past right before me, and so I was able to come out. Nobody was passing me. And then through the car going around there and going on the main road, it kind of slowed down a little, and then I was finally able to like brake and stop the car. When I stopped the car, I realized that my front left tire had blown out. I don't know how, still to this day, I don't know how it would have just blown out like that. I don't know if I hit a nail. I really don't know what the fuck happened. But anyway, I decided to rim it on that car, on that flattened tire, a little bit closer to my friend's house, because I was almost there. And also I needed to come out of the way in the middle of the highway. And so I kind of just slowly drove the car to somewhere safe, and then I stopped. I had to leave the car there because I called AAA, and there are so many towing services that came and then they canceled on me and whatever. So I ended up leaving the car there overnight, but it was really, really shocking to me how I felt like I could not control the vehicle. That was like a huge fear to me up until that point. And then it happened and I was like, oh my God, like what the fuck? Like my worst fear happened. This could have gone horribly wrong. Anyway, paid for the repair for my car. I don't like to dwell, so I just kind of shoved that experience to the back of my mind. Next experience now. This actually happened to me 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was on my way out of town. I was headed to Virginia, and Virginia had an ice storm that morning. And I remember leaving DC really early because I was like, I don't want to get caught in the middle of this ice storm. Let me just hurry up and go. So on my way there, I'm driving and I'm making sure that I drive no more than at least like 30. I'm just driving super slow all the way. It's also like an hour drive. And so I'm driving super slowly. And almost to my destination. I think I was 7 minutes away from my destination. And there's this car in front of me. And for whatever reason, the car had the flashing lights, so I figured something was wrong with it. I didn't want to get stuck behind that car, even though I was already going slowly, but I just wanted to come out of that lane. So anyway, put on my indicator to go to the left lane, and I slowly merge into the left. Now, it was the leftmost lane, and so somebody was explaining this to me afterwards, that in an ice storm, like it's the leftmost lane, like the lanes to the absolute left and right are usually the most icy, because usually that's, people don't really drive in those lanes. They get less traffic, and so a lot of ice builds up on those sides of the road. Anyway, I merged over to the left lane, and as soon as I merged over, I could almost feel the car kind of slipping. And then 2 seconds after, I felt like I could not control the car. And so I started feeling like the car's getting that same wobbly feeling again. I was like, okay, what the fuck? Now I know that I should not have done this, but I did this. I decided to brake immediately because I was just frightened. I was just scared. I was like, okay, the car is getting wobbly. Like, let me stop this car. Hit the brake, and when I hit the brake, the car would not stop. When I realized that the car would not stop and I hit the brake, I think the intensity at which I hit the brake, it affected the movement of the car, and so I just started to spin. So I hit the brake in that left lane, and the car just started to spin in the middle of the road like this. I think I spun around like 3 times in the middle of the road. But what was scary to me was when I was spinning in the car, I was going across the entire highway, but then there was an SUV. Like, I saw the SUV. I knew I was about to collide in that SUV. And I drive an eco car. And so for my little eco car, I know that whenever I get into accidents, the car just crumples up. Like, it's a very eco-friendly car. It's not like made for super heavy impact. And so when I saw the SUV, and this was me spinning in the road, and this was the SUV passing in this lane, and my car door, like the driver side, I saw it colliding with the SUV. And so in that moment, I was like, okay, I see what's gonna happen here. I'm gonna close my eyes. Then I closed my eyes, anticipating the collision, because I knew it was going to happen. And I knew I was like, if I hit into this SUV, it's a much bigger car than what I'm driving, and the collision, I will probably die. And the fact that it was the second time that I was having this kind of accident, like losing control of a car, I was like, okay, I'm gonna die. Like, all right, cool, I'm gonna die. It's gonna be here. So I closed my eyes and I was like, okay, have I done enough? Am I ready? And I was like, yeah, I guess I'm ready. I've done enough. I guess I'm ready. Um, to me, what I was thinking in that moment in time was, have I done enough? Have I lived out my music inside of me? Have I given back to the world what I came here to give to the world? And in that moment, I honestly was like, yeah, I guess I've done it. Like, I feel okay leaving now. And it's so crazy how all of this was going through my mind in those like milliseconds. And then I also thought, something came over me where I was like, you know what, honestly, if I'm supposed to die right now, to be honest with you, I'm even scared to say this because I know people will like take this differently, but I'm gonna say it because it's my truth. I was thinking, this year has been so emotionally exhausting, and it's been so taxing, not just on me but on other people with this pandemic and everything. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I personally feel like we choose when we die. And I was like, okay, I guess this is it, this is the moment. And if I'm supposed to go right now, I guess I'm super tired anyway, so might as well. And I consider myself a happy person. I consider myself a jovial person. I consider myself somebody who always embraces like the ebbs and flow of life. But in that moment, I was like, okay, I guess I'm really tired too. So if this is the moment, then I'm ready. So I closed my eyes and I was like waiting. I was waiting to like collide with the SUV. I was waiting for it to hit into the driver's side. I was waiting to be squished. I was waiting for all of that. I was just waiting for it. I closed my eyes and just feel the car spinning while I'm holding on to the steering wheel. And I just feel the car stop. Like I just feel it stop. Apparently God had other plans. Apparently he was like, no, it's not time. You're not tired enough. So I ended up in an exit lane facing the oncoming traffic. Like, I remember when I opened my eyes, I was to the extreme right of the highway in an exit lane. The exit lane, the traffic was supposed to flow this way. Like, you're supposed to divert, this is the highway, divert off of the highway, go into the exit. My car was facing this way, so my car was really facing the people who wanted to go take that exit. And when I opened my eyes, everybody had stopped. Like, all of the cars stopped in the middle of the highway. The SUV had gone past, and the cars were like several car distances from me. Like, everybody was just observing me looking at them in the traffic. And in that moment, I was like, whew, okay, God, I guess I'm still here. Took me a few moments to gather myself, but then I gathered myself, drove slowly, drove the rest of the 7 minutes to my destination. And when I got there, I was like, oh my God, I could have died. It wasn't until a few weeks later that I started to like process the situation, because I was like, okay, saved by the bell, whatever. In the moment, I feel like after that incident, I felt like I made it through. Let me not blow this up any bigger than it is. So I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm not going to tell my parents. I'm not going to tell anyone about this, because what's the point? I already made it through it. However, in the weeks after, I started to realize the impact that not just that experience had on me, but just the both experiences in general. And I wanted to make a video because I felt like in those moments, those experiences, I kind of suppressed them. I did not go through the motions of feeling what I was supposed to feel, because those two traumatic things happened to me. So anyway, these are a few ways in which those two incidents changed me and my perceptions on life. The first thing is, I feel like in the weeks after the accident, I just didn't have any patience. And even now, I feel like sometimes it's a challenge for me to like assert patience with certain things, because I just don't see the point anymore in anything that is not authentic. I don't have the patience to pretend I like something when I don't. I don't have the patience to pretend I like someone when I don't. I don't have the patience anymore to pretend that I like to be somewhere physically that I don't. I don't have the patience to pretend that I care when I don't. And this has manifested in so many different ways. I don't have the patience to small talk to you when I don't want to. It's just like this place of, does it matter? Like, it's constantly, and I didn't realize this until recently, how short I have been with other people, and how just, it's kind of like I've just been embracing, what is the point? Like, it's like I want to get to the meat of situations. I can't pretend with the fluff. I don't want the fluff. And I mean, I know people always say this, like people generally struggle with this in general. There are people who are more direct, and then there are people who are not so direct. But I feel like I was already a direct person, and it almost borderlined on like intolerant. Like, I just don't have the patience for, like, I was just really, really short. And this is something that I'm still coming out of. Like, okay, sometimes small talk is kind of cool. Sometimes having a little bit of patience with people is kind of necessary. But mostly, I just don't really have the patience. Something I'm working on. The second thing that I've observed is that I realized in the weeks following the second accident was that I didn't really have any fears. Like, I felt like I experienced so much that I had no fears anymore. It was almost like I had nothing to lose, and this still kind of affects me. I still do feel, and I try to channel this in a good way, but it's almost like being that close to an experience where you're not here anymore puts you into a perspective of, what is there to fear? Like, there's nothing that you can take from me. There's nothing that you can do to me. Like, what is the worst that can happen? You know, like, is the worst thing death? Because I feel like I can do that. The third way that this has affected me is that in my spiritual practice, I definitely feel more connected to a higher power. I definitely feel more connected to source, God, spirit, whatever you would like to call that. I like to call it source. I feel more connected in terms of being a small part of a master plan. I feel like whatever I was meant to do here was incomplete. And in that moment, I felt like, and in the moments after the accident, the weeks after the accident, I started to see that affirmed and validated to me in different ways. Like, you're not done, you have more to give, you have more to say, you have more to do, you have more to experience. And I feel like that has just brought me into a closer dynamic with a higher power, with source, and it's been good. It's been good for me. I felt more authentic and more of a push and an urgency to live in authenticity, because I feel like the time that I have here can just be cut short at any moment in time, you know? So when you feel like, when you're confronted with an experience like that, like you could just go, like 1 second you're just driving on your way somewhere and then the next second you're just gone. To me, that has affected me in just putting like it lit a match inside of me to not waste any time on anything that does not make me feel good, that does not bring joy to my soul, that does not light my soul on fire. It kind of pushed me in a space to embrace my passions, embrace experiences that mean something to me on earth. Anyway, I say this all to drive home the point to anyone who needs it. I felt moved to document this because I want to tell you, whoever is watching this video, to do the stuff that makes your heart sing. Do it with the people who feel like safe spaces to you. Don't force yourself in environments that you do not feel align with you. I was gonna say you only have one life, but if you believe in reincarnation, anyway, you only have this current incarnation, so make it worth your while. Do the things that bring you joy, even if you don't know how they'll turn out, even if people criticize you, whatever it is, do what your soul is telling you to do. And then the next point I want to drive home to the people who watch this channel is, channel your emotions no matter what they are. Explore them, because if it's one thing about emotions, they will pass. But when we suppress our emotions, they come up in very inconvenient times and spaces because we've kind of shoved them to the bottom of our consciousness, and we're not really giving them any attention until something triggering happens, and then that's when they come flowing all out. So just a little gentle nudge for everyone, no matter what your emotions are, if it's fear, if it's shame, if it's guilt, if it's whatever it is, just some kind of trauma that you've experienced. Go through all of the things that you truly feel and all of the things that that experience is evoking inside of you, so that you can purge and release it and get through that. And that's how you kind of heal through a moment. And also, healing through a moment does not look like just feeling like you've purged the emotions today, you've cried today, and you're done. It's going to be days upon days and weeks upon weeks where you're having different points where you feel more affected and less affected, because healing is linear until one day it just does not affect you in the same way it affects you anymore. So if you needed to hear that, I hope you took something from this video and it inspires you to implement something in your life in your own way. And that's it for me today. If you'd like to learn more spiritual education with me, my Patreon, of course, is down below. Feel free to hop on over there. Follow me on social media if you want to keep up with me when I'm not on YouTube. And everything else you need to know from me is